start, and I want to start with our first friend that is based, as I said, in Jakarta, and that's our Mr. Happy, Tarumadevyanto, that is an independent FCC auditor and sustainable forest management assessor. And the first question that we have, or the general question that we have, is what is deforestation? How we interpret deforestation? How many type of forests as well we have? What kind of standards, if we think about deforestation, and criteria to measure deforestation we can have? And then if we have global supply chain, and if we have products that are coming from all around the world, which is the standard that we should use? The one that we established in Europe, or also the one that has been used in the foreign countries? So let's try to address some of these questions in our first debate. Our other debates will be following in the coming weeks and, of course, months, as the European debate is going to last at least for the next 2 to 3 years. So, Mr. Happy, we're very happy to have you here and very delighted. The floor is yours. I know you have some slides. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with the wider audience across the globe. And this is my very enlightening, and I think from the perspective of global community, the process of sharing of these sessions will be very beneficial for us to have lessons learned. Yeah, and I'm pleased to with this invitation to compare a webinar toward this zero deforestation as a multilateral global approach for EU policies. And maybe let me share to you the short presentations of my from my experience and lessons learned, to be able for you also digest what things are going on with the zero deforestation and what's happened in our region in terms of tackling combating the deforestation issue. Okay.
We tested earlier, so it should work.
Yeah, it should work. Opening the presentation. So let me check.
Wonderful. Make it big.
Okay.
So
bigger, yeah. I
yeah,
think
if
it's
you can
maximum.
make before we did full screen mode, but otherwise it's fine as it is. Your floor, please go ahead.
Is it okay? Okay. So this is what the zero deforestation I want to address in my region, especially how we handle the zero deforestation in terms of the approach through the landscape approach. Therefore, the commitment to zero deforestation we have here in terms of in our landscape, the approach can go through the palm oil, coffee, forest, and other crops products. Therefore, the first commitment to zero deforestation in our country, in our region, especially through the forest legality assurance. So, if you remember that Indonesia and Indonesia in particular, and in general, the East Asia, Southeast Asia Pacific, the commitment of zero deforestation can go through the timber legality assurance, as each country need to have a commitment. And once they have the interaction with the European Union or European community, which is eco-sensitive countries, then the pledge of the zero deforestation approach need to be taken place. And then once we understand that the zero deforestation through forests approach with this the first level of timber legality assurance is one of the basic approach that we need to take place. Then we also need to discuss this with the further audience. We engage the stakeholders on how the timber legality assurance take place in our region, especially in my country. So for your information, that the timber legality or forest law enforcement and governance trade license was first endorsed to Indonesia. So Indonesia is the first country in 2010 or either 2010 2012 implement the FLEGT license based on the country-based FLEGT license. What does it mean? Meaning that Indonesia has to pledge and commit to the legality assurance by proving or demonstrating Indonesia commitment to the international community, especially for European Union or European community, what Indonesia has done and what Indonesia already commit regarding the zero deforestation from the timber legality approach. This is a long process of our approach to have the timber legality assurance take place and work in my region. So therefore, in our region, in Southeast Asia, we have Vietnam, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Malaysia. Others maybe China and Australia. Sorry, excuse me. Specifically in Southeast Asia, the commitment of zero deforestation from the very basic approach legality through the FLEGT license now works. Now has to be working and demonstrating to the international community. So this FLEGT approach is government to government efforts to devise a solution to improve forest governance and to address the illegality in terms of if there's some illegal issue of forest resources, especially timber. If you need, this is the way of FLEGT approach to understand and to see how much the transparency process and the forest management units can be demonstrating this basic information and this basic timber sourcing and sourcing of supply chain can be detected or can be determined through this FLEGT increase consumer awareness of the illegality of tropical deforestations, and then also approach a private sector desire to eliminate unfair competition. So it means that the private sector has to also prove and demonstrate how they produce the timber legally. And the approach of legality is through the government administration approval from the context of authority and also a good of legal documents. So that's we have to coordinate with the government in terms of this FLEGT approach. And this is also an acknowledgement by consumer countries of their responsibility. So from zero deforestation also not only touch in a forest-based supply chain, we also see how the supply chain also connect from the forest through a number of supply chain intermediary process from the forest until the end consumer products. So this is first the supply chain where the private sector responding to environmental campaigns, climate change, and growing corporate social responsibility commitments, and then growing public sector engagement, as shown here by New York to 2014 and Amsterdam to 2015 declarations. I think this is my first presentations. Maybe further comments or questions can be followed, and I have some more examples to be discussed later, and then I will let you know the process of discussions. Maybe I'm giving the floor to the moderator to continue for the further discussion. Thank you.